Hi crafters, Raquel here from Paints and Glitter. I'm coming along for ScrapbookPal.com. Today I'm featuring the Honeybee Stamps Lovely Layers Nutcracker die set. I'm combining this with the Simply Stated holiday stamps and matching dies. I'm going to read these out to you and then we'll talk a little bit about it. The sentiments here are Happy Holidays, Holiday Hello, Season's Greetings, Blessings of the Season, Merry Everything, From Our Family to Yours, Sending Holiday Cheer, Warm Wishes, Merry Christmas, and there are Ho Ho Ho, Holly Jolly, Merry and Bright, Love and Joy, and Merry Christmas. And also there are 4 little hearts. They're really tiny, but if you're not paying attention you may miss them, and I wanted to point that out. I'll be using the stamps with this Simply Stated die set collection of 14 different labels and banners that you can use, which I think is super neat. And of course it's all going to coordinate very nicely. And then on the side here I do have some pearl stickers from Honeybee, and these are called Homestead Hues. However, there are all sorts of colors available, so you may want to take a peek at that. Be sure to visit the links below if you're interested in these items, and also I'll have a separate blog post for you, so that way if you want to have all of the instructions there, you can definitely take advantage of that as well. So I'm going to get started and then we can work on a project together. Okay, so starting with the Lovely Layer Nutcracker die set, what I've done here is I've cut out all of the pieces, and I'll be pointing out which is which as I assemble this in front of you, so that way if you need to pause the video you can do so. But these are the little arms, and those are the little diamonds that you can cut out. Next are the little white cuffs that I'll be adding. They're actually an ivory cardstock on top of a cardstock that is in cherry red. And as you can see, these little pieces fit exactly on top one of the other. Those are the little shoulder pads, if you will. And what I've done is mix some gold metallics, glitter cardstock, and ivory along with the red. This piece here cuts out for what's the center of the coat, and as you can see there, it has that little gold mirror card that just frames the bottom. And it also has some little buttons, so I have taken a Nuvo white gel pen and just colored in the debossing that's already created with the die, so that's easy enough. Then on the 2 little circle portions on top, you can add the 2 little arms. So those, of course, can be adhered as you like. The next part is the little cinched belt, so it has the buckle, and the belt portion I've cut out in that beautiful mirror card as well. Next are the little boots that also have a trim on the top. So of course you run the dies through your die cutting machine as many times as you need with the different colors. But I can tell you that it is easy enough because you can definitely use a lot of little scrap pieces of cardstock for this because it is intricate and small. But all of those will layer onto the longer solid piece, which also has debossing lines that will guide you as to the placement of all of these beautiful layers. So the background is the largest piece, and now for the face, there is a tiny die that will cut out all of the little eyes and eyebrows, and you choose how much detail you want to add to this, of course, but I did use double-sided adhesive for those intricate pieces, and then with some Copic markers, I colored in some shading onto the face. And of course you can do this before adding the eyes. It was an afterthought, but there you can see that I used just some neutral colors to add a little shading under the eyes, around the face, and toward the bottom, because for this one I'll be adding the little smile there. So I showed you the little die that will cut out those teeth. A tiny drop of adhesive is all you will need for the nose portion. And here's a close-up look at that. I did add the little mustache and the goatee, if you will, after adhering that face onto the base. And There also you're going to see how you can add the hat, which also has the little layers that you can add onto it. So I'm trying to highlight the little pieces that you would need for this, of course, but feel free to pause the video if you need to. And this is quite intricate, but I try to make use of all of the pieces, and a little later on you'll see that there's a second version of this little nutcracker that you can also make. But there's a little gem that you can add in the center, and these are just all gold mirror card. Whether it be the glitter or mirror card, it all adds some really pretty accents, and then the hat goes on last. There is the finished nutcracker, super elegant and beautiful. And for the actual stamp set, I thought this was pretty clever because I hadn't realized that it's all one piece. But I think this makes it super easy. First, I added some non-stick just powder, and that helps the ink go onto the paper without creating static. So it is an anti-static kind of cornstarch powder. With black ink, I stamped those sentiments onto black cardstock, and then I'm adding the gold embossing powder, and this is of course heat activated. So I'm going a little bit fast here in this video so I don't take too much of your time, but all you need is a heat tool. You apply the heat onto the paper and you see how it changes right before your eyes, and the die actually matches up with the tiny little hearts that I had mentioned from the stamp. So once you run that through your die cutting machine, here's where you see the little hearts. That's your gauge, and here are most of the sentiments. And next, what I'm doing is using a Distress 3D embossing folder from Spellbinders. I run some green cardstock through that folder to achieve that beautiful effect. And with a Nuvo glue pen, I'm adding adhesive to that raised portion of the paper. And as you see, I tap that onto a non-stick mat just to get some of that adhesive out. And once you've covered that, you can actually use foil. And I am using the Spellbinders foil that you can get from ScrapbookPal.com, and gently rubbing that onto the adhesive, you now can have a beautiful background. I'm going to cut this at a diagonal, and all measurements will be over on the blog, but I am using a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 base top folding card with matting layers to match. And as you can see, I've used some really pretty Christmassy paper with a gold background. I'm adding the diagonal on one corner, and this is going to help me highlight the nutcracker. But before I do so, I'm also going to foil just the very edges of the sentiment that I chose to use for this card. It does say Merry Christmas, and the Nuvo adhesive makes it super easy to just go along the edges to apply more of that foil. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, but I am using some dimensional adhesives I've already applied to the back of that sentiment piece, but I cut the same banner out with gold cardstock using the die, and this is going to now layer with the sentiment on the front of my card. So it's a super easy way to implement all of the same colors as the nutcracker, and also make use of the foil you may have. But these are the results. I hope that you have enjoyed this, but I just topped off the card with a few of those little gems to match, and I think this is a really easy and fun Christmas card to make. Let me know your thoughts, but of course don't forget to subscribe to ScrapbookPal.com for loads of inspirational tutorial videos using all of these amazing brands that you can find. And there's also some fun giveaways every month, so be sure to use the links in this video to follow and get a hold of these items so that you also can craft with them and have lots of fun. And also leave a comment and a thumbs up. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. We invite you to do so. And I thank you so much for spending some time with me today. This has been a really beautiful, beautiful experience this year. So I thank you so much for all of your support as always, and thank you to ScrapbookPal.com for allowing me to craft with these gorgeous items. Look at how stunning those are, so elegant. So I hope you have a blessed Christmas season. Thank you so much for watching.